Okay, shall we start then?
Yes. Assalamu alaikum everyone. So thank you for joining today's session. As mentioned previously, we will be going into hands-on sessions from now on, and let us know or let Sid know if you have any questions in the chat. Okay, that's it. So now I think we can start. I've already started the recording, so I think we are good.
Okay, thank you very much, Rumsha. So, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So, this is the session 4 for Salesforce Marketing Cloud training. And myself, I'm Asadullah Sheikh. I'm working as a principal engineer in an Australian based company. I work remotely there as a Salesforce engineer. So, I have about 5 years of experience in the Salesforce ecosystem, and I also have conducted a session on Marketing Cloud previously with Ramsha and Hassan. And I also want to thank them for this opportunity once again. And then in this session, we will be covering some technical areas of Marketing Cloud, particularly with AMPscript and some dynamic emails, landing pages, and server-side JavaScript. So if you are not familiar with these terminologies, you don't have to be worried about it. We will be going through each of these things at a very basic stage today. So all these terminologies you will be familiar with by the end of the session, right? So let's start with our today's agenda. So by the end of the session, you will be familiar with AMPscript. What is AMPscript and why do we use it? Why do we need it in Salesforce Marketing Cloud? And then we will be talking about dynamic emails. So Marketing Cloud is particularly for mainly for email marketing or SMS marketing as well. But then today we will be covering the email area and how the email can be personalized or customized to engage directly with your customers. Moving forward, we have landing pages. We will we will very briefly talk about what landing pages are, and then we will also jump into a demo that how these landing pages are built in Marketing Cloud and how they are customized. And then we will have a very brief overview of server-side JavaScript and where it is used in Marketing Cloud. Okay. So if you have any questions, because this is going to be a little bit technical session, you can drop your questions in the chat. I will be reviewing it after every section of this presentation so that we can discuss before we move forward, right? So here's a recap of what we have learned so far. So this is session 4 for Salesforce Marketing Cloud training, and there has been 3 previous sessions, and it is important to know the important areas before we move forward to the technical areas of Marketing Cloud. So what is Salesforce Marketing Cloud engagement and what are the core features of Salesforce Marketing Cloud? So when we say uh, it is pretty much clear by its title. So it is a cloud engagement platform for marketing, mainly for digital marketing. Its core features primarily include email, mobile studio, and social media, social studio, advertising, web studio, and there are some other builders as well. So, at a core, Marketing Cloud engagement is a suite of applications which allows you to engage with your customer on digital platforms. So, it can be literally anything. It can be your email, it can be your mobile, or social websites, or even a website, uh, or maybe you can reach them directly into the WhatsApp or uh, line chat and things like that. So, before we move forward, we need to know what Email Studio is, which I assume we have covered in the previous sessions. The Email Studio is where we manage the email communications and templates and things like that. And then we have Content Builder, which we will be using to build dynamic email templates as well as some dynamic stuff such as images and there's a section where we will be hosting our code blocks. So what is Web Studio? Web Studio will be used to build landing pages, which we will cover in the session. And what is Journey Builder? And Journey Builder is a studio in Marketing Cloud, which we use to send emails to customers through a personalized journey. And then what are data extensions? So if you haven't heard this term before, think of it as a simple data table where data is stored in rows and columns, right? Like in Salesforce, we have objects or custom objects. In Marketing Cloud, we have data extensions where we store the customer data or literally anything. Okay, so moving forward, let's talk about AMPscript and what it is. So, those of you who are familiar with Salesforce, Salesforce has a programming language called Apex for its backend logic, and then it also has Lightning Web Components or JavaScript. So, for Marketing Cloud, there is a language what we call as AMPscript. So, it is written as capital AMP as script, but there is no abbreviation, right? It is just a name, uh, how it is. So in Marketing Cloud, we use AMPscript to personalize content when we are sending email or we are sending a message or anything. Let's say it is a web page. We want the content to be personalized or dynamic according to the customer because Marketing Cloud is used to engage directly. It is used to engage with your customers directly. So it is one-on-one engagement. And when it is a one-on-one engagement, we do not want the data of one person to be demonstrated or displayed to the other, right? And that is why we particularly use AppScript. But again, there are other functionalities in Marketing Cloud as well to do the same. So why will we use code particularly in Marketing Cloud? So we do have multiple areas in Marketing Cloud. For example, even if we are building an email template, we have the option to build the email template dynamically with no code and low code. We can build landing pages with no code and low code. And similarly, we can have SMS templates or anything else with no code and low code. But why would we need AmpScript then? So let's consider a basic scenario or example from a let's say news agency where you want to broadcast the news to your audience. Like you have hundreds and thousands of users where you are broadcasting your news through emails particularly every day. So there will be an audience from different areas or I can say fields. Everyone has their own interests, right? Some will be interested in sports, some will be interested in politics, some will be interested in, let's say, gaming. So you want to share the news that is relevant to them, so a news that they are interested in listening to, knowing about, right? So with the no code and low code tools available in Marketing Cloud or elsewhere, you can do customization, but that is limited. What you need sometimes is to build your own logic, right? Because Marketing Cloud already has built-in tools, but it doesn't really mean that it is built particularly for you. It can do anything, it can do everything, but it doesn't know your requirement, right? So when it doesn't know your requirement, you have to build it for yourself, and that is where you will be required to do some coding. And then when we say AmpScript, is AmpScript a hard code programming language? No, it is not. It is a very simple programming language, scripting language built particularly for Marketing Cloud, and that is what we are going to see in today's session. Okay, so let's start with the very basics of AmpScript, what it is and why do we use it. We have just discussed about that. So by definition, AmpScript is a scripting language built for Marketing Cloud by Salesforce. And now if you have seen this in the very first line of the slide, it says scripting language. So you might be confused with the term, or you might have heard the terminology programming language. So there, what's the difference between a programming language and a scripting language? So there isn't much of a difference. So a scripting language is a subset of programming language, where when we say programming language, it means that it is compiled at runtime. And what I mean by compilation is it is a whole lot of application code. So the code base will be very, very big. So let's say, for example, if you are building a mobile application, so you can say it is built through a programming language. It could be C# or Java or anything else. right? But when we say scripting language, we do not mean to build standalone applications. We mean that scripting language supports an application for a particular task. So now that you understand that the difference between programming language and scripting language, by this you can easily imagine the use of AMPscript will be pretty simpler as compared to the other general purpose languages such as Python, JavaScript, or anything else. It is comparatively very simple. It is comparatively very simple, and it is easy to write, easy to understand. It has limited features that we will be discussing today. So, and again, this is a server-side scripting language like others. It is not a, it is like other many languages. It is also a server-side scripting language. It is not executed on the client side or executed on the browser, and then it is interpreted. Another difference between a scripting language and programming language is mainly that the programming language is compiled at runtime, while the scripting language is interpreted at runtime. So what this means is that when you are executing the code, it runs line by line. So for example, if it starts as line 1, line 2, line 3, so it will first read line 1, then go to line 2, then go to line 3, unlike in programming languages where the whole file is compiled at the runtime. So we use AMPscript particularly for customization or personalization. So in Marketing Cloud, you are sending emails to your customers or your audience, whoever it is. You need the content to be personalized and customized and tailored to your audience. That is where you will be using AMPscript. So it can be used in email, in web pages, or for SMSs and some other areas in Marketing Cloud as well. So AMPscript particularly has two parts. So it has some built-in functions, and then its syntax, which is comparatively little different from the traditional programming languages. So first, let's talk about AMPscript functions. When we say AMPscript functions, so in AMPscript we have predefined functions library that we will be using to write our code, and our code will surround these functions only, which means we cannot determine or write our user-defined functions or self-defined functions like in other languages we do for complex operations. AmpScript only has a limited functionality because it is built for Marketing Cloud, and it covers all the areas that need to be customized in Marketing Cloud, right? So it has a built-in library of functions. I will show you in the demo later. Then we will also be doing some implementations, but just for understanding, as you can see, the function and the slide that is I have written, it is very much similar to Excel in some cases. So there are very common functions in Excel that we use, for example, uppercase, lowercase, or add, or sum. In this case, AMPscript behaves or works very similar to Excel. These are the functions, some of the functions of Excel that are also available in AMPscript. So it is a procedural in nature. It is not object oriented, unlike Python or Java or C Sharp or C++. So you cannot create class objects in this. You cannot define the functions. You cannot add code logic based on your need. But it can still be used for CRUD operations. So when we say CRUD, we mean create, read, update, and delete. So mainly, the purpose of any programming language is to play with data, work with data. So we will be working with data extensions in this case, and AMPscript will be used as a medium to interact with data extensions on runtime. So we can create a record inside a data extension. We can read data inside a data extension. We can update as and delete as well. So that is a particular AMPscript use, and in Marketing Cloud, because it is not rendered, rather it is used for business logic or core logic behind the scenes. Then we talk about AMPscript syntax. It has a very simple syntax, but for those who haven't really written a programming language before, If you have written Excel functions, we usually use equal sign to start a function in Excel. So that's what we call a delimiter. AMPscript also uses a special delimiters, and that is percent. So by delimiters, what I mean is when we are writing AMPscript code, we need to let the content builder know that we are now starting to write AMPscript code, and the indication for that is double percent sign. And then when we are done writing the AMPscript code, we will close that particular code block with double percent sign also. So just like we do, we write comments in code, and with delimiters, could be hashtag, could be forward slash and asterisk. Similar to that, we use special delimiters for AMPscript, that is percent and percent. But there are three building blocks in AMPscript, and they all have different delimiters. So use uh, when we are building email templates, we will be using personalization strings. So Marketing Cloud has predefined personalization strings that we will be using across the template. For example, if you have ever used any other email client or email cloud, for example, MailJet or anything else. So you will also find there are personalization string. But what they do is, so let's say you are uploading data in Excel sheet and sending an email to a list of users. For example, there are 10 users in Excel sheet. So you have added a column of their user information. So let's say first name, last name, and their email address. And then you use delimiters or variables to identify or dynamically populate that data in your email body, and that is where personalization strings will be used. So basically, we will be fetching data from data extensions using these strings. And then there are some system defined strings as well. So for example, subscriber key or xt long date. So subscriber key is like a primary key stored in Marketing Cloud against each of the user or the customer that will be added into the data extension. It is the unique key which identifies each record inside the data extension. And then there are some other system defined strings as well. For example, as you can see, xt long date, it will be used to render the long date of today. For example, today is like Sunday, 21st September 2025. So that is what it will render. And then there is inline AMPscript. So when we are writing dynamic emails or landing pages, sometimes what we need is a simple function. We need to call a simple AMPscript function, or maybe write a simple one-liner code. So that is where we use inline AMPscript, which is very similar. You can say inline CSS or maybe inline JavaScript that we use in HTML and CSS or front-end languages. So that is where we will use. And but the important point to note here is, sorry, but the important point to note here is when we are using personalization strings, we will be using percent as the starting and ending delimiter. When we are writing inline AMPscript, we will be using percent equal sign to start the code as well as the mark its ending. So we will be ending it with equal sign and percent delimiter. And then we will have AMPscript block. So that's AMPscript code block is particularly where you will be writing your core logic, right? So as you can see I have demonstrated a attached a short screenshot here. Starting from line number 1 to line number 6, there is a AMPscript code block which starts with percent and bracket, square bracket, and then we have written a multi-line code script inside it. So for example, I have declared some variables and I'm assigning some values to it, and then I will also use some AMPscript functions, for example proper case, and then format date. These are the functions that can be used inside AMPscript block. These functions cannot be used inside personalization string, but can be used inside inline AMPscript. So what I have done in this code example is I have set up some variables inside the code block, and then I'm using inline script to display the output of those variables. So for example, that is high, and then there is again percent equal sign. and there is a function with called v, and v is used to output the value of a variable. So I'm using v bracket start at the rate name. So it will print for whatever the name is, in this case, Sarah Mathur, right? And then sent on the date, so whatever today's date is. And we will see the AMPscript code in detail in the demo as well. So this is just to show you how the AMPscript looks inside the Marketing Cloud. And then there are some advanced AMPscript functions as well. So as we mentioned, we will be using AMPscript to perform CRUD operations over data extensions. We will we will be using functions like lookup, for example, that is used to get a single field value inside a data extension. So as the example you can see, that says we want to get the email of a contact. So what we do is we use the existing lookup function. We first give it the name of the data extension. So let's say it is contacts, and then we uh, define the name of the field that we want. So in this case, that is email. Then we also want to add some filter conditions. So whose contact email do we need? So we are passing ID in this case. So let's say get, what it means is get email of particular contact whose ID matches record ID. For example, it can be mobile number or CNSE as well in this case. And then AMPscript has some advanced functions that you can use to interact directly with Salesforce as well. This we will also see in a demo in a bit. So for example, you can use retrieve Salesforce object, which is also the built-in AMPscript function. So what it does is, instead of fetching data from data extensions from within Marketing Cloud, if you have your Salesforce instance connected with your Marketing Cloud, you can use retrieve Salesforce objects function to directly retrieve from the synchronized data sources of your Salesforce. So let's say you have connected contact or account object with your Marketing Cloud instance, then you can use this function to fetch data directly from your Salesforce contact object or account object. So in this case, I have written a very basic example. So that says retrieve Salesforce objects, and we have defined the object name. In this case, it is contact, and we are giving a list of fields like ID, email, has opted out of email, and then we are applying the filter. So what we want is we want to retrieve contact data from Salesforce, where ID equals contact ID, and let's say whatever the contact record ID is, or you can use email or any other type of filter here as well. And then it has some functions for HTTP callouts, or uh, for you to interact directly with Marketing Cloud APIs or third-party APIs as well. So that is the primary use of AMPscript. So when we talk about AMPscript, we say it is mainly used for content personalization. That is the purpose it was built. But then over time, it has been extended to use to incorporate some advanced capabilities as well. So right now, we can use HTTP callouts within AMPscript as well. And you can also interact with Marketing Cloud APIs that we will see in the demo as well. So yes, it does support loops and if or conditional statements as well to some extent. So this is a simple AMPscript code block that I have written to demonstrate how the AMPscript code looks like in real world scenario. So what we are doing here is we are at the from, as you can see, from line number 1 to line number 9. Just to confirm, can you see my mouse on the screen, Ramsha?
Yes, yes.
Cursor?
Yeah, yeah, we can see
Okay,
it.
right. So from line number 1 to line number 10, there's a simple AMPscript block. So what I'm doing there is I have used once again a pre-built function inside the AMPscript, that is lookup ordered rows. So previously we saw a function called lookup, which was fetching a particular field data from data extension, but in this case we are fetching multiple records from data extension, right? So we are using lookup ordered rows function, and then we are passing in the name of data extension and then the number of rows that we need to return, and also we are giving the field as well as the order order by the data. So basically we are sorting the data. So let's say we need three records, but it needs to be sorted in descending order by purchase date. And then we need to match it against, for example, subscriber key. So for example, there can be, normally there are no there shouldn't be three records in a data extension with a similar subscriber key, but there can be scenarios where you are storing multiple records against a particular subscriber in a data extension. That is really up to you. So in this case, for example, I have a transaction, so it is understood that there will be multiple transactions against a subscriber. So for example, if you are in transactions, for example, we talk about a banking transaction. So there will be multiple transactions against a subscriber, a single customer or a subscriber, right? And then we are setting a variable called count, and then there is another function called row count. So what it does is returns the number of rows returned from the function, from the data extension. And then I'm using if statement, which is very simple, which is if then else if then and if uh, that we use in AMPscript. So we are using what we are saying is if that what we are saying here is if the count is greater than zero, that is the some data has been returned from data extension. We want to set that data to basically visualize so what that data is inside the data extension. So we are using if condition. So if there is some data, then we want to display that data on our screen. So for that we are using for loop. And if you can realize, the syntax for the for loop is a little bit different as compared to the traditional languages. So here, what we are saying is for I, that is a variable, equals to 1. So starting from the first index, and then to count, then we define a variable. So then we use a variable that we defined earlier. So that says count. So we assume that it is equal to 3. So we want the loop to run from 1 to 3. So for each item, for each iteration, what we need to do, we define that inside the for loop with do keyword. So we are setting another variable, so let's say row. Then we are using another function of AMPscript called row, which basically gets the row data from the transaction list. And then we are using another function called field, and assigning the value of the item name column from the data extension to this variable item. So what it does is, from the very beginning, once again, it gets the data from the data extension, and then it acts as a list, right? The tx variable acts as a list. Then we are iterating over that variable. What we need is, what we are first doing is fetching the particular row from that list, that is, and then we are getting the value of particular column inside that list. So let's say in this case it is amount and item name. So we created two variables. We fetch the data from the particular record in that variable, and then we are printing that data using HTML code. So you can see this code can be used inside an email template as well, because it can be used in conjunction with HTML or CSS or JavaScript or anything. But you can see I have used some HTML tags in this code. So, yeah. Okay. So as you can see on line number 13, I have defined an HTML tag, which if you are not familiar with, it is for unordered list. I think someone has their mic open. Okay. So you can see we have defined some HTML tags starting from line number 13. So that is UL, so which is stand for unordered list in HTML. So what we are doing is we are printing the items from the data extension as a list in HTML. So we define the under unordered list, and then we are iterating over the list item. So how does it iterate, and how does it need, how does it understand it, when do I have to stop? So basically we have the starting variable, which is at the rate I. So it says start from 1, and then it ends till the count. And then on line number 22, you can see there is another keyword inside AMPscript called next, and then we want it to iterate over I. So for each iteration, I will increase automatically, and then it will continue till the count is reached, right? So this is the keyword that we will be using for looping over some data. So it will start from for the variable, the count variable, then do keyword, and then whatever you need to do, the logic that you want to perform inside the loop, and then you will be using the next keyword and the iterative variable. So in this case, that is I. So and then it will iterate, continue the cycle until the count is reached. So that is a common use case that we will be using loops for inside AMPscript. And then we are closing the HTML tag, and then there's an else condition as well. So you see the block started with if condition, then we are using else condition. So if let's say no records are found, the count is equal to 0. So then we want to show that no recent purchase is found, right? So it is a simple, very simple AMPscript code block, and we will see another one in the demonstration as well. So if you have any questions regarding this code block, you can post in chat. I will have a look before we move forward to the next section. If you have any question related to the AMP script, we can discuss that now. So do we have any questions, Ramsha?
So I think we are good. Let me check the chat. So there is one question from Yaya. Do we specify CSS in this section as well?
Yes, you can, as I mentioned. So it is basically used in conjunction with HTML and CSS. So if you wanted to, you can specify CSS here as well, and it will render at runtime as well.
Awesome. I hope it answered your questions, Yaya. Yep, it's good. So I think there are no more questions. Sid, we can move on to the next
Okay,
session.
so now what the point here is, we have covered the very much basics of AMPscript. So before we move forward to the dynamic emails, so I assume by this point we have an idea of how AMPscript, what AMPscript is and what it does, and then what now what we are trying to do is see its implementation in real world or real life applications, particularly in dynamic emails and web pages for Marketing Cloud, right? So when we say dynamic email, so the idea is to engage your audience one on one. You are sending, for example, 1,000 emails to your customers or audience or whatever, whoever it is, but you want your content to be personalized, right? A common example that you would usually see in your email is hi, first name. So whatever your name is, for example, if I receive an email, I'm one of the contact member in that list. So I would assume that I will receive hi Asad. So for example, if Hassan is receiving the email, it should say hi Hassan. So that is one simple example of personalization. But with AMP script, you can do much more than that. You can use, as we saw, conditions and loops inside the email to render the content at runtime. So, for example, if you want to recommend, for example, some products to your customers. So, let's say Hassan has different interests than me. I'm more interested in, for example, gaming, while Hassan is more interested in sports. So, you would like to suggest me or recommend me the products that are related to the gaming games that I play, while you would want Hassan to see products related to the sports. So whatever sports activity he has been doing recently, right? So that is where the primary use case of AMPscript is. So we use it to personalize content dynamically according to the recipient attributes. So it is assumed that we have some data because we need the data to start the marketing. So we have some data. For example, we have a couple of customer data, and then we also have their attributes, their data related to for example, if it is an e-commerce, we need to have the data related to their purchases. So if it is for example, if you have a movie website, then you need to have some subscribers. So for example, let's say it is Netflix, so they have their subscribers, and then they also have their interests. So what they have watched recently will define their interest. So, for example, if someone is interested in watching action movies, you would want to recommend them more action movies. Or, for example, someone is interested in, let's say, thrill, so you would want them to recommend thrill, and then you can write an email. Sorry, you can write an email that sends the movie to them according to their interest, rather than defining templates for each category separately and assigning a simple user this task, that send this email to this 100 users, send this email to this 100 users. You can do this dynamically with AMPscript inside the email. So how does it works is we create an HTML email inside the content builder within Marketing Cloud, and then we apply some AMPscript code to dynamically render the content inside the email. So this is a few examples. For example, for e-commerce site, as I mentioned, you wanted to recommend some personalized products as well as offer some discounts based on their recent purchases. You would need some customization, which the built-in tools in Marketing Cloud cannot do for you. That is why you need some logic. You need some code, which is at a very basic stage. We use AMPscript. It is not very much difficult, so we will be seeing this in a bit. And then another example that you might have most commonly seen is receiving an email invitation. So there may be upcoming events in your city. So you might be using TripAdvisor, which is very common in Pakistan. So if you have subscribed to their newsletter, they will continuously send you the emails. So let's say these are the upcoming events within your area, within your city. So if you are interested, you can join the event by registering for it. So how does it know which events am I interested in? Because I've told them that I'm more interested in tech events recently, so it will let me know so that this tech conference is about to happen in Karachi, so next week. So you might want to visit this, right? So there may be some Kawali night programs or movie or let's say sports activity. So recently there was Pakistan versus India match. So you could also, if you have shown interest into the sports, you might possibly receive an email saying that they have arranged a screening for Pakistan and India match, and you might be interested in registering for it. And things like that are customized directly inside Marketing Cloud with the AMPscript. And then there are dynamic landing pages as well. So when we say landing page, which is not a ghost term today, I assume everyone understands what a landing page is. Basically, it is a standalone web page. Unlike a website, it is used for a particular goal. A simple one-page website, you can say, but it does not have a complex navigation mechanism inside the website. What it does, it works for a particular purpose. So, for example, you might have seen event registration pages that you receive directly inside your email, or you might have received, for example, an email saying that uh, reset your password or things like that. For these kind of scenarios, you might want to use a landing page rather than a complete website, because website is built with multiple pages and multiple navigations for complex operations, right? Whereas a landing page is for a single use case, so it can be anything. So AMPscript can be used to personalize email content. It can be used to personalize landing pages content as well. So where do we create landing pages? We use Web Studio in Marketing Cloud to create a landing page. So a common example in this case would be, so for example, in previous slide we covered examples related to the product recommendations. So there may be some users who might not want to receive the product recommendations from you anymore. So they would probably unsubscribe from an email or change the preferences. So let's say they received an email which recommends them the political uh, products products related to, let's say, sports, but they are not interested in sports. They are more interested in wearables or fashion items. So they would want to change their preferences, that I am not interested in sports, but you can send me emails related to the current trending fashion items for males, for example, right? And how do they change their preferences? That is done through a customer subscription and preference center inside a Marketing Cloud, and that can be built using a landing page. and we will build one probably in next session. And then there is a very common scenario, as I mentioned earlier, event registration form. So event registration form can be built using landing pages in Marketing Cloud also, where you have an email for information for a particular event happening in upcoming days. For example, you send an email to someone, they register, they click the button and register for the email, and that data, the information is stored at runtime in your data extension, and then it can be used for future use cases, right? So instead of talking or uh, moving through the slides, let's just jump into the demo directly. So I'll be sharing my screen, and then we will start with Marketing Cloud demonstration. So I will be showing you how the email actually is built dynamically, and as well as the landing page, how content landing page is built dynamically. So I hope everyone can see my screen right now.
Yes, Asif, we can see your screen.
Okay, so let me start from the very beginning. Unlike Salesforce, for Marketing Cloud, we have a different login URL. So we will be going to mc.exacttarget.com to log in into the Marketing Cloud. So when you are here, you will provide your credentials. So you will provide your username and password to log in. So it requires authentication. Let me authorize it. So once you have logged into your Marketing Cloud instance, you will have a screen which looks similar to this one. So let's just wait, and there you are inside Marketing Cloud in Salesforce. Now this is how a Marketing Cloud instance looks like if you haven't already seen it previously. So you can see it has a header, navigation, and then it suggests some journey templates, which is up to you. If you wanted to change this home page view, you could do it. It shows a calendar and then some information related to your interest or whatever your organization has set it for you. So what we are doing particularly today, with this assumption that you have seen this instance or environment before, we will be directly jumping into building an email template today. So for example, I can go into the content builder, and this is the place where you can create new email templates, right? So once you are inside the content builder, you can click this create button to create an email message, or you might want to use an existing email template, or you can also have content blocks for many things. For example, there is a content block called enhanced dynamic content, which can be used to render content dynamically without coding as well. But in this session we are covering AMPscript, so I have already built an email template using the HTML format. So let's just view that email template for now. Okay, so here I am inside the email. So this is how the email builder in Marketing Cloud looks like. It might not look good at this moment, but yeah, so this is the code area where you can write your code, HTML code for the email, and this is how it is rendered. So remember we talked about AMPscript, that it is executed on runtime, unlike a programming language. So when we will be previewing this email, you will be seeing a very beautiful version of the email, but right now what you are seeing is the code rendered into the email body as well. So if I wanted to view the uh, if I had this email with only HTML code, you will be seeing some HTML uh, very beautiful email here as well. So very quickly, so when you are inside the email content builder, what you can see right now here is I have defined some AMPscript code with HTML code as well, and there is some CSS also, right? Uh, so starting from the very first line, what I have done is I have predefined a AMPscript block where I have defined three variables. So to define a variable in AMPscript, we use var keyword, and then we define the variables with at the rate. We use at the rate to declare a variable in AMPscript, right? So I have defined three variables: first name, session, and role. And then I'm setting the variable, assigning a value to a variable using the set keyword, and that I say first name is equal to. Then I'm using a function, AMPscript function called proper case, and then I have used another function called attribute value, and then I have passed column name, or you can say field name, to get the value from inside the data extension. So to simplify things, let me skip this section for a moment. Let's talk about these this personalization. So remember, we started with personalization. So when we say the data can be personalized at runtime, so you can see I have this data here. It says events with members. So this is basically a data extension, right? The data source for this email. So let me just change this for now. So we are choosing a new data source, and I'm moving to the data extensions, and then I'm selecting new LA leads journey data extension from this view. So now you will see that the personalization strings have changed. Right now, what it is doing is it is fetching these variables or fields from directly from the data extension. Let me show you how the data extension looks like. So if I just go to the content builder, sorry, contact builder. So this is where you can access the data extension inside Marketing Cloud. So we are inside contact builder now. Then we navigate to data extensions, but let's wait for the screen to render. Right now we are in data designer, but let's just go directly into data extensions. And these are the data extensions that we have right now. So I'm particularly interested in LA Leads journey. So this is how data extension properties look like. And then we go to the records section, and these are some records that I have pre-populated inside the data extension, right? It has email, it has opted out of email, ID, and first name. So you can add more properties in this data extension, and how you can do that is go to the properties, and then you can see that these are the attributes of this data extension. You can add more attributes. You could potentially add mobile phone number or address or literally anything, right? So this is the data extension. So we are using this data to uh, populate in this email template dynamically, right? So I have used first name, and I have used an AMPscript function. So most of the time, these are some functions that you could find directly inside this option as well. So that is AMPscript formatting. So because these are very common AMPscript functions used for personalization, so you will be using most of the times, right?
So as I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Actually, we are on time, and I know you have to go. So if you want to wrap this up, we can wrap this up the one,
Yeah.
and
So
then we can continue in our next time, and I will add up the topics that are remaining from this one, and we can have this in our upcoming one.
okay, so let me wrap this up very quickly. So what
Yeah.
we have done here right now is I have defined some AMPscript code, and then we have some HTML code as well. So what it does is it dynamically populates data from data extension. So maybe in next session we can discuss in detail how this whole code is rendered. But let's just preview this code for now. So if I just go to preview and test, okay, I have some error as well. So if I just change the data extension, it could be that I have different selected a different data extension here. So if I change the data extension and select a particular record, so you see now the email is rendered, the whole code has been executed, and the values are populated dynamically. It says hi silent, so the name that is populated inside the data extension. So if I move forward, so you can see the name changes, it does not have an email because that's why it's not populating. And then if I move to the next uh, record in the data extension, so that says hi as then email is populated and this content is rendered dynamically, right? So that said, you are the session speaker today, while for the others it says you are our esteemed session member, right? So that is how email content is rendered dynamically with AMPscript. And another thing that we talked about is landing pages. So you can see I have added two buttons inside this email. So that says update profile or unsubscribe. So if I just click this button, so you might have already seen this in similar experiences in email that you receive that says unsubscribe from the email or subscribe to the other preferences. So this is a page that is built inside the Marketing Cloud, which shows that you can subscribe or unsubscribe from your email, which is it is very simply built at this moment, so that just you can manage your subscriptions for following email. What I can do is, if I'm not interested, I can simply click this button to unsubscribe from the email, and then I will no longer be receiving marketing emails from the source, whatever it is. So it says now you are unsubscribed, right? If I go back, and then it says that you can resubscribe to the email. So just one thing I wanted to show, where does this value update inside Marketing Cloud or elsewhere? For this example, I have connected Marketing Cloud with Salesforce as well, and I have this contact synchronized from Salesforce to Marketing Cloud. So if I just go to the contact inside Salesforce, so you will see that I have this email field now check marked, that I have opted out of email. So that is how synchronization between two systems in Marketing Cloud works. So for example, if I resubscribe, and this is happening inside Marketing Cloud landing page, right? I have resubscribed to the email, and then if I refresh the contact, I will be able to realize the change here as well. See, so that is the power of AMPscript. So remember we talked about how AMPscript can be used in direct with Salesforce directly. That is how you could potentially use AMPscript and direct with Salesforce. So we have seen dynamic emails and a particular dynamic landing page as well. But then we will be seeing some more examples in upcoming sessions. I think we are very much out of time right now. So I'll just wrap up the session here today. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Yes, Asad, there are questions from Yaya in the chat. Would you like me to read out, or can you check that?
Okay, let me read it out. Okay, so there are some questions from Yaya. I see. Let me share the resources first. So on the screen, you can see some resources that I will be sharing in the group as well. But these will be very helpful if you go through all these. And then for questions, I noticed lead object is used, how the record or data values are fetched out. Lead object might have 100 records. How are we specifying from which record it will input the values in email? So this is a good question. So remember, here in the email content, we used AMPscript to, and we use personalization strings. And when we are sending the email dynamically, it is the ability of Marketing Cloud to understand that at the runtime, when it specifies, it connects with the data extension, so it goes from first record to the last record. So it uses the column name of the very first record for the first email sent, and then it understands that I'm using for the very first record in the data extension. So the first name would belong to that record. So for example, if there are 10 contacts inside the data extension, so for the first email, it will get the value of first name for the first record. So for example, if it is Asad, and then the next record will belong to Hassan, and then it will populate the first name for the second record inside the data extension. So that is how it works inside Marketing Cloud. And for the next question, can we use data from multiple? Yes, can we use data from multiple related objects in the email templates? Lead, opportunity, account, contact within the same email. So yes, you can do that. So if you have attended previous sessions which were conducted by Aswar, so he talked about data relationships in Marketing Cloud. Like we have data relationships in Salesforce as well. We can relate two objects using lookup or master detail. In a similar fashion, you can relate two data extensions in Marketing Cloud using data relationships, right? And then you could potentially use a related data extension to fetch data from multiple or joint data extensions directly inside the email. And we will probably see this in the upcoming session. And there is another email as well. Can we set up subscriber with objects other than lead and contact? Of course, you can. So it is totally up to you. It is just to demonstrate that you could potentially use the power of Marketing Cloud with Salesforce and send an email to lead. But it's up to you. You can create a new data extension and populate it with the data of your choice on whatever it is. But it requires to have an email ID to send the email to. But then you can use a data extension to populate the data for SMSs as well. So you might not want to send email, but you might want to send a WhatsApp SMS. For that, you need a mobile number. So there are some prerequisites. So that is what you will need, but it is up to you. You can populate. So like it says, suppose you can create a custom object for anything. You can use data extension to populate anything. Can we get sorry, there is another question. If we use other objects, can we get IER for them? So can you elaborate what IER is? Uh, well, yes, you can. So it says individual email result. So if we use other objects, can we get individual email results for them? For preview and testing, yes, you can. So when we create a data extension, we define it as a sendable data extension or testable data extension or both. So if you have a testable data extension, you could potentially preview the results of the email against each individual when you are developing the dynamic email template. Okay, so I think there are no more questions. Okay, so I hope
Yeah,
this session has been really useful to you, to the everyone who have joined, and I want to thank you all for being here today and handing over to Ramshana.
thank you, Asad, for the amazing session. Like, this was literally so good. I was also like getting this as a candidate, so I learned a lot, and looking forward to other hands-on and with demonstration and sessions like in the upcoming weeks. So we can discuss offline like the topics we need to add to our upcoming sessions, and then I think we will be good. Other than that, from the audience side, if you guys have any questions or later on if you need any help with these trainings, you can directly reach out to me or Asad or Hassan as well. He's a co-leader. So let us know, or if you have any feedback, so do let us know about that as well. So I think we can
Yeah,
wrap this up, and we are good to close it. Yeah.
yeah. I expected the session to be very, very short, but somehow
Yes,
it.
obviously. Okay, awesome. I think bye everyone, and thank you Asad once again for your amazing like explanation.
Thank you very much. I hope everyone had something to learn today. See you in the
Yeah,
next session then.
inshallah. Allah Hafiz.
Yes.